Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 7th of August 2023. In today's newspaper discussion, we are going to cover many articles from the editorial section of the newspaper and also some important topics from other section of the area. And also we are going to cover some questions for the prelims exam and also for the mains exam. So let us start the discussion now. So these are the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's discussion, and this is the relevance of those topics. Along with the page number is also mentioned. Okay. So let's start the discussion. The first topic says every act of silence amplifies the horrors in Manipur. Okay. So this topic is related to the violence that is happening in Manipur, right? The violence is happening between different groups inside Manipur. So we are going to discuss about those violence, and also we are going to discuss about some concepts, right? There are many concepts related to this, and this topic is important for GS paper 2 and also it is important for GS paper 3, right? So we are going to discuss about them. So name of the topic is every act of silence amplifies the horrors in Manipur. Okay, so this topic is related to the internal security also, because it questions the questions the administrability of the state. Means like the state was not able to maintain the law and order situation in the state of Manipur, right, for more than 2 months, right? So the issue has started on 3rd of May, and after then the issue is still going on in the state of Manipur. So it is associated with multiple concepts. So we are going to discuss about one thing. Okay, we are going to discuss about the issue that is happening in Manipur. So as you may be knowing that like in Manipur, a few women's have been stripped off and they were paraded, right? And also they were harmed by mobs and thugs, right? And these videos, right, videos of these incidents have circulated over internet, right? Many people across India have seen it, and there are many organizations, many individuals in India that have, let's say, criticized, criticized in the strongest word possible against this kind of horror that is happening in the state of Manipur. So the government of Manipur was unable to maintain law and order situation in the state of Manipur, and the National Commission of Women, right? The National Commission for Women have also, let's say, written many letters to the Chief Secretary of the state of Manipur, and still the National Commission for Women did not receive any response on this. So in this article we are going to discuss about some of the issues associated with this. So the author says that recently there have been many let's say protest march. Okay, so many people have conducted protest march in the state of Manipur and elsewhere, and these protest march should not be considered something irrelevant. Why? Because these protest marches are, let's say, silent. These protest march are silent act of, they are, let's say, silent, or we can consider it to be they are feeble act of let's say protest, right? Protest against, feeble act of protest, let's say, against the horrors that is happening in the state of Manipur. And in this article the author has referred to some of the slogans that have been let's say raised during the American Civil War, and this slogan says, "We shall overcome someday." Okay, so this slogan says, "We shall overcome some days." And people who were protesting, right, who were doing peaceful protest, they have also let's say, talked about this particular thing. We shall overcome someday. So this issue is a law and order issue in the state of Manipur, and it can be considered as ethnic conflict, okay, ethnic conflict in the state of Manipur, okay. And so there are some issues, right? There are some concepts related to it. One of the concept is fratricidal conflict. Fratricidal conflicts. So what do we mean by fratricidal conflicts? These are those conflicts that happen within the family, okay, or inside the party, right, or among known people. So conflicts that happen within the family, okay, that happen within the family, or in the same group. So in this article, the author has discussed about that, like in Manipur, it can be considered as fratricidal conflict. And apart from this, the author has discussed about a term which is known as restorative justice, okay. This is restorative justice. So what do we mean by restorative justice? Restorative justice is a concept that talks about that justice should be restored. I mean, like anything that has happened, right? Anything that has happened wrong, so it should be restored back to the normal situation. But in the state of Manipur, it is very difficult because the harm has already been done against many women, right? So women have been, let's say, stripped off. They have been, made to march, and when the commissioner of police, right, the commissioner of police in the state of Manipur was asked this question, not only the commissioner, even the chief minister of the state of Manipur has said that, like, this is not just one incident. There have been hundreds of incidents, and that chief minister of Manipur has got to know about it only when it was made public in the internet, right? And so these are the issues that are at hand in the state of Manipur, right? And the author is also talking about some of the groups, right? Some of the groups that are working in the state of Manipur. These groups are, let's say, known as Kuki Zomi group, okay? These are known as Kuki Zomi group. So these Kuki Zomi group, Kuki Zomi people. So these people have been earlier, let's say, staying in the state of Mizoram. However, the people of Mizoram, they have been forcing these people to return back to their Manipur, right? Return back to Manipur. So since they do have familial, ties in the state of Mizoram, and also they have, let's say, fratricidal conflict, right, with people in Manipur. So that's why these people stayed back in the state of Mizoram. So these are the things. And also, in the state of Manipur, there are a kind of migrant people who are known as Chin people. Chin means like they are a kind of ethnic group, and these people have also migrated to Manipur from Myanmar, okay? They have migrated to Manipur from Myanmar. So these are the things that have been raised by the author, and author has also talked about one policy which is known as Act East policy, okay? Act East policy. So the central government or the government of India has come up with Act East policy. Under this Act East policy, they wanted to, let's say, work towards, let's say, uplifting the lives of people of Northeast, okay, people of Northeast, and also connecting them with Southeast Asia, okay, connecting them with Southeast Asia. However, this particular thing is still, let's say, it is languishing. Why? Because the people in the Northeast India are not, let's say, living a peaceful life because of the incident that is happening, incidents that are happening in the state of Manipur. So this is the thing. So the author says every act of silence amplifies the horrors in Manipur. Means when the government is not able to act, in that case, the people who are doing violence, so they get, let's say, boldened. They do more act of violence against, other communities or other people. So that's why it is important that government should take steps. And in this article itself, the author has mentioned that the chief minister of Manipur, he has, let's say, taken control over the majority group. Okay, so he has controlled the majority group in the state of Manipur. So with this, like, we will move to the next topic quickly. And before that, like, we do have a question for you. This question, it says, India wants to establish itself as an important regional player in East Asia affairs. In the light of this, discuss the importance of Act East policy. Okay, discuss the importance of Act East policy and the challenges associated with it. Okay, so we do have a map here, over here, right, that showcases how India is connected with, let's say, the eastern countries, right? So India acts east, right? So this is part of Act East policy, under which, like, government of India wants to connect with the eastern countries, right? Eastern countries, for example, that includes all these 10 countries. They are part of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Okay, so there are 10 countries over here. And apart from this, with Australia, India wants to maintain good relation. Then there is China, Japan, and Northeast India, and South Korea, right? So map of the countries with which, like, India wants to establish good relations, right, wants to have deeper ties, are mentioned in this particular article. So with this, we will move to the next topic quickly. Now this topic is also very important. It says Nuh-Mewat, old template, new battleground. So here in this article, the author categorically says, right, that the incident that has happened in the district Nuh, right? So Nuh, earlier it was, let's say, a part of Mewat region. It's a part of Mewat region. However, the Haryana government has made Nuh as a new district, right? And in Nuh, we have seen, let's say, clashes. And these clashes, right, the media reports categorically says it, that these clashes are orchestrated in the sense they are pre-planned, and they are pre-planned by Vishwa Hindu Parishad young wing. Okay, and these clashes have happened in a manner that, like, even the police or the authorities, they were let's say, knowing about it, and they have given they have colluded, right, with the people who were doing the violence. Colluded means mili bhagat. Okay, it means, like, let's say, police, authorities, and people who were doing the violence. So they had a collusion. वो लोग मिले हुए थे. In this article they say it, and this the author says that, like, author talks about a recently published, let's say, explanatory report that says roots of wrath, weaponizing religious processions. Okay, it says. So we are going to write down about it quickly. So next topic is, this topic is also very important. This is related to Nuh-Mewat, right? Old template, new battleground. Old template, new battleground. So here the author says that these conflicts that have happened in the state of Haryana, right, in Nuh-Mewat region. So this is not all of a sudden, this did not erupt, right, all of a sudden over there. So it was a orchestrated or pre-planned, okay, it was pre-planned violence, okay, it was pre-planned violence. And the author says that the authorities, right, authorities have colluded, okay, authorities have colluded with people who were doing the violence, okay, with people who were doing the violence. And the author says that, like, these people who are doing the violence, so they are supported by the state itself, okay, they are supported by the state, they are supported by the police, right, and they are protected also by the police and all. So the person who was involved, right, one of the mastermind, the person, he is a wanted person from the nearest state, Rajasthan, right, he is a wanted person. However, the government of Haryana, has given him shelter. I mean, like, the police authorities have given him shelter in the state of Haryana, and this person have openly declared that he is going to participate, and he has, let's say, asked other people who are following the same religion to participate in that particular religious procession. And name of the religious procession, is known as Braj Mandal Jal Abhishek Yatra. Okay, so what was the name of this thing? It is Braj Mandal Jalabhishek Yatra. Okay, so this was the thing, and also the author talks about one report, right? One report, and this report is a very credible report because the report has also mentioned, like, shared videos and other credible information, right? This report is known as Roots of Wrath. Okay, Roots of Wrath. Okay, Roots of Wrath. Weaponizing religious processions. Weaponizing religious processions. So, in this particular report, it is well written that, like, all those religious processions where a violence has been seen, right? In this article, the author has given many such examples, right? Many of those religious processions where violence has been seen, the violence was mostly pre-planned. And it was pre-planned in such a manner that those people who were involved in the violence, they also had, right, support of the police officials, they had support of the state government, right? So only then they have done it. And the author says that, like, it was orchestrated by Vishwa Hindu Parishad. And Vishwa Hindu Parishad being one of the religious identities, right? One of the religious, let's say, like, organization. Whatever it says, it is, let's say, like, taken at face value by other Hindus, right? And even if, let's say, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad says tomorrow that no, this particular region was once, right, once a place where Lord Krishna, let's say, like, used to play with cows. So people will consider that thing to be right, okay? Then, like, they will orchestrate something like this, okay? So the author categorically mentions that Ram Navami and in Hanuman Jayanti, right? All those things, like violence that has happened, it was pre-planned. And the author says this is known as culpable amnesia, okay? This particular term, of collusion between the state and the violence creators, this is known as culpable amnesia. Okay, this is known as culpable amnesia. Means in the name of religion, right, you are doing crime against human beings, right? So this is the thing. They have given many such examples also, that in May 1924, close to a century ago, Mahatma Gandhi wrote a pamphlet on Hindu-Muslim tensions, an issue that for him was gaining almost obsessive importance. He was focused, as always, on inner essence, but devoted great attention to their overt expressions. So, many people who were involved in cows, let's say, as cow vigilantism. So they have, they have killed also many people. So this article is related to Nuh-Mewat, let's say, violence that has happened, and the author says, like, it is something that follows old template and it's just a new battleground. Okay, so the Supreme Court of India has also asked the state government, right, have asked various state governments to come up with policies to stop cow vigilantism, to stop, right, such kind of, culpable amnesia in different states. So this is the thing. In your free time, you can read it once more to understand it well. Then we have another topic. This topic is again very important. It says the bureaucracy as prosecutor, as judge and judge. Okay. So we are going to understand this topic. This is a very important topic. The bureaucracy as prosecutor and judge. Okay, so this is the thing. So let's understand about this topic, right? So in this article, the author has talked about Jan Vishwas Act, right? The author has talked about an act that the government of India has recently passed. It is known as Jan Vishwas. So Jan Vishwas Act. So here the author says that the Jan Vishwas Act, right, gives the executive magistrates, right, or bureaucrats, okay, it gives bureaucrats the authority, right, it gives the bureaucrats the authority to inspect and apply fines, right, to inspect and apply fines. And also the author says that the bureaucracy is something that has to implement the law, right, that has to implement the law. So if someone is implementing the law and that person is, you know, acting as a prosecutor and as a judge, so this will be a case that where someone acts as a judge in his own case, okay, judge in his own case. So judge in his own case. So this is something, right, this is something that like we need to understand, that someone should not act as a judge in his or her own case. Why? Because like, you know, this will do away with the fair trial process, okay. So the author says that like, you know, there is a concept of separation of power, okay, separation of power between executive and judiciary, okay, separation of power between executive and judiciary. The executives, right, the executives are given the authority to implement, right, to implement the laws, okay, to implement the laws. However, judiciary, okay, the judiciary has the authority to adjudicate, okay, to adjudicate or act as prosecutor, okay, act as prosecutor and judge. So there are separation of power. So in the Constitution of India, the clause related to separation of power is mentioned. So like, you know, there are different like issues where separation of power related things is mentioned, and the author says that this Jan Vishwas Act, right, this Jan Vishwas Act gives the executive magistrates or gives the bureaucracy the power to inspect, to prosecute, and also at the same time to apply, impose fines, right, to impose fines. And the author says this is a precedent where the judiciary, the authority of the judiciary is being eroded by the government. And the author says this is not the first time that the government has done so. There are series of such you know, legislations by the government that has, let's say, gradually, slowly and gradually taken away the power of the judiciary, right, and they have given this power to the executive. For example, if we talk about in the case of tribunals, right, if I talk about in the case of tribunals, so tribunals act as, let's say, like, you know, forums for civil doing, let's say, justice, right, in certain matters. So in these tribunals, the government themselves have appointed their persons, okay, they have appointed their persons. They have named those people as technical member, okay, they have named these people as technical members. However, these technical members influence the decision making. What they do, they influence the decision making, okay, influence the decision making of the judges. So the tribunals, right, are one such example. Tribunals are one such example of eroding of this particular thing, authority of the government. And there are other examples also. For example, the Jan Vishwas Act, it amends the Environment Protection Act, Air Prevention and Control Act, right? So this, let's discuss about this Jan Vishwas Act. What does this Jan Vishwas Act does? this Jan Vishwas Act amends, right? It amends, number one, the Environment, right? Protection Act, right? Environment Protection Act of 1981, okay? Sorry, Environment Protection Act 1986 and Air Prevention. So there is an Air Act also, there is an Environment Act also. Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. Air Prevention and (1981). Okay, so these are the acts that it amends, right? And after amending, it gives the authority, right, of imposing fine to the legislatures. So in this article, the author has given many such examples. For example, different ministries began creating judicial tribunals to take over various judicial functions. Hitherto means that were earlier exercised by the judiciary. Most of these tribunals were created in a manner to give bureaucrats an opportunity to be appointed to the tribunal as technical members, that I have already discussed. The second such example is the union government began creating a new class of statutory regulators such as the Securities and Exchange Board of India. The government has created Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, right? So they are statutory regulators. And the Competition Commission of India, which had powers to punish the private sector. With punishing fines, virtually all the regulators ended up being headed by senior bureaucrats, okay? Like SEBI, like Competition Commission of India, etc. So they are the regulators, and the government of India has created these regulators, and these regulators have the authority of punishing private players, okay? Punishing private players. So the thing is, and these organizations are headed by topmost bureaucrats, okay? These are headed by topmost bureaucrats. So the author says that, like, there are innumerable such examples that, talks about eroding the authority or power of the judiciary, okay? So there is a trend that was set by the union government. And also the union government started creating the role of adjudicatory officers in a number of legislation, such as Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, the Information Technology Act 2001, and the Food Safety and Standards Act. These adjudicatory officers were always bureaucrats who were given the powers to either confirm attachment orders for properties or impose penalties on businesses, okay? So the author says that similarly the Jan Vishwas Act also, let's say, like, meddles with the judiciary. It's, let's say, takes away the authority of the judiciary. And the author says, like, imposition of fine, these things were earlier, like, these things were hitherto the role of the judiciary, but, like, now it is being taken up by the executives, by the bureaucrats, topmost bureaucrats in the country. So the author says the bureaucracy has started acting as prosecutor and judge. And the author says that the Jan Vishwas Act allows bureaucrats in charge of enforcing the law to also conduct an inquiry and impose a statutory penalty on a finding of wrongdoing is constitutionally suspect. So the author says this is constitutionally a suspect thing. So, like, there should be a review of this particular thing to see the constitutional validity of this particular act of the government. Apart from this, we are going to discuss another topic. It says, is India's sugar surplus leading to a crisis? Okay. So, like, India emerged as the largest exporter, right? So India became the world's top sugar producer in 2021-22. Surpassing Brazil with a record of 359 lakh tons, okay? So India has become the topmost producer of sugarcane in the world. And since we have become a topmost producer of sugarcane, right? So, like, apart from meeting the domestic consumption, we have also started, let's say, exporting the sugarcane. However, this does have some catch. What are the catch that are there related to the sugarcane? One of the things is, like, many countries have approached the World Trade Organization. They have approached the World Trade Organization citing two things. One of the things is that, like, the state governments, various state governments are giving disproportionate subsidy to the sugarcane producers, to the farmers who are producing sugarcane. Why the state governments are doing? Because they want to, let's say, retain their vote bank in the rural areas, right? And the second issue that they have raised in the World Trade Organization is that these sugarcane, I mean, like, in their export from India, so they have, made the situation in such a manner that they are more competitive than any other, let's say, sugar producer across the world. Okay, so they are more competitive. Why? Because they have given a lot of subsidies, right? So there are subsidies in export promotion as well. So the author here mentions that, like, that these cases have been filed in the World Trade Organization by different countries, and the World Trade Organization has given verdict against India, right? So India has failed in those cases, and the author says, like, the government of India has a program which is known as fair and remunerative prices. So these fair and remunerative prices is kind of minimum support scheme, or minimum let's say, like, minimum support price. It is similar to minimum support price, because minimum support price is given for other commercial crops, but in case of sugarcane it is known as fair and remunerative price. Okay, so the author says that, like, since India became the topmost producer of sugarcane, so, like, we have started producing sugar in let's say, like, across India in many places. However, this has repercussion, because natural resources are depleting. Natural resources like water is depleting, because for production of sugarcane we need a huge amount of, right, amount of water. And since those places where sugarcane is being let's say, like, produced, there they do not have sufficient amount of rainfall that is needed. Generally the rainfall that is needed is around 3000. Okay, so we need rainfall of around 3000 millimeter. However, in those regions we are getting 1000 to 1200 millimeter of rainfall. So these people are using, let's say, groundwater, okay, from confined aquifers, and this is leading to depletion of the groundwater. Okay, so groundwater table is, let's say, receding, it's going down. So the author mentions that India's top sugarcane growing states rely heavily on groundwater for irrigation, leading to concerns over groundwater depletion. So through this article they are saying that although India is let's say, world's topmost sugarcane producer, but still it is leading to a crisis. What crisis? Crisis of water depletion. Okay, crisis of water depletion, that's the thing. So with this, like, we will quickly move to the next topic. Yes, so we have, let's say, a map, and this map showcases top 10 sugarcane producing states in India. What are those states? Let's say, like, these states are Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So these are the topmost top 10 sugarcane producers in India. Okay, they are top 10 sugarcane producing states in India. So with this, let's take a question on this topic. It says, which of the following statements is not valid objection to the fair and remunerative price scheme? Okay, fair and remunerative price scheme is for sugarcane. Okay, it is for sugarcane. Okay, it is for sugarcane. We need to remember this thing. So three of them are valid objections to the fair and remunerative prices. This is also a valid, let's say, like, objection. This one is also a valid objection. This one is also a valid objection. However, option D is not a valid objection related to fair and remunerative price. It says FRP encourages sustainable agricultural practices and ensures fair wages for the farmers. See, farmers are not given fair wages by the government, and also it does not encourage sustainable agricultural practices, because, like, it is leading to water depletion. Okay, what it is leading? It is leading to water depletion, right? Groundwater depletion in those states where sugarcane is being grown. Okay, sugarcane is being produced. So that's why option D will be the right answer in this case. We have also included explanation to this question. You can download the PDF and go through the explanation in your free time. Then we have another topic. This topic is also very important. We will go through it quickly. It says, why did Meta block Canada's access to news reports, right? So Meta is the parent company for Facebook. Okay, so parent company for Facebook is Meta. So recently the Canadian government, right, have come up with an act which is known as the Canada's Online News Act. Okay, the act is known as Canada's Online News Act. Online News Act. So this Online News Act, right, one of the purpose of the Online News Act is that, like, they want to give benefit to the publishers of news in Canada. And these giants, like, for example, Meta or Google, what they are doing, they are the curating content. Okay, they are taking content from local agencies and, like, they are displaying it to the consumers. And in this case, like, these companies, Google and Facebook, they are making huge amount of money, and at the cost of these publishers who are actually let's say generating those news reports and all. So that's why the Canadian government has come up with this, where, like, the government of Canada wants that these let's say giant platforms like Google, Meta, they should negotiate with the publishers, right? They should negotiate with the publishers and they should share their benefit with those publishers. So that's why the Meta has decided that it is not going to display the news articles in Canada, and also similar is the move taken by the let's say this Google. Okay, so both the companies have decided that they are not going to show news related things, content in Canada because of this particular act, which is Online News Act. Similarly, there is another country which is Australia. They have also employed a similar similar legislation earlier. This is known as News Media and Digital Platforms Mandatory Bargaining Code. Okay, News Media and Digital Platforms Mandatory Bargaining Code, under which they have mandated that all those online platforms like Google, Facebook, they should bargain with the media outlets in Australia, and they should share their benefit with them. So, like, that time also the Facebook or Meta, they have blocked their news content in the in Australia. But later on, what has happened? Later on, they had, let's say, negotiated with the government of Australia, and they have restarted their content sharing practices, right? News content sharing practices in Australia. So in this article, they have, like, discussed about it, like, why did Meta do so, and, like, what it will, what this particular activity will lead to. So it will lead to, let's say, lesser visibility of news content in Canada, and lesser visibility, let's say, like, ultimately the consumers are going to be hampered, because consumers will not be able to access, right? They will not be able to access the news contents easily. So with this, like, we have another topic. This topic talks about G20 negotiators face climate change hurdle, right? So currently India is holding the presidency of G20, and since India is holding presidency, so India has been conducting summits related to multiple aspects, right? Related to climate change also. There have been climate ministers, okay, or environment ministers meeting, and after all these meetings, right, the G20 grouping must come up with one joint declaration, which is known as joint communique. Okay, however, because of, let's say, because of certain issues like Ukraine issue that is happening, right, Ukraine and Russia war, some countries are, let's say, like, proposing that there should be strong condemnation for Russia. Other countries are saying that, like, they do not want to condemn Russia. So there are impasse, right? People are not agreeing on certain things. So it is hampering the process of releasing joint declaration, right? Joint declaration. And also related to this climate change negotiation. So related to climate change, right, there are, let's say, funding related issues, like which countries are going to fund. Earlier also many countries have let's say, like, taken this responsibility. The developed countries have taken this responsibility that we are going to let's say fund for climate change activities. In the sense, those developing countries, if they want to, let's say, go for industrialization, they can adopt certain alternative technologies, so that, like, their developmental path do not lead to climate crisis the way that, like, the developmental path of the global of the developed countries have done. Okay, so in this article they have mentioned about those areas where there is impossible like there are aspects of impossibility for reconciliation between the members, and also they have discussed about like the funding related aspects. So you can read this article in your free time to understand this, right? Well, so this is the map of the G20 countries. You can go through it in your free time. Then we have another topic. This topic is also very important. This topic says MP strategy for tigers can help cheetahs too. Okay, MP strategy for tigers. MP, Madhya Pradesh. Okay. So Madhya Pradesh has recently taken an initiative that they are going to continuously relocate tigers from one tiger reserve to another tiger reserve. And at the same time, they are going to continuously relocate the prey base from one, let's say, area to another area. And this will lead to reshuffling of these, let's say, like, tigers and their prey base, and like, it will ultimately lead to, okay, it will ultimately lead to increase in the population of tiger in the state. Okay. So this is one of the thing. Apart from this, in this article, they have also mentioned that Madhya Pradesh, the state of Madhya Pradesh has 6 tiger reserves. And in India, totally we have 53 tiger reserves in all. Okay. So in all those 53 tiger reserves, right, tiger protection is being done. And there is an authority also, which is known as National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, which is looking after for the conservation of tigers. And the author says that Madhya Pradesh is taking, let's say, like this new strategy for tigers, and this will also help. This can also help cheetahs also, because we have recently seen that many of the cheetahs that have been relocated from some of the African countries, those cheetahs have faced difficulty in surviving. Many cheetahs have already died. Okay, 6 cheetahs have died so far, right? Out of the 12 cheetahs that we have, let's say, we have reintroduced in India, right? So this is the thing. You can go through this article in your free time to understand about this. And also the author says that, like, Corbett National Park, which is located in the state of Uttarakhand, it has the highest density of tigers in that tiger reserve. Okay, highest density of tigers. So this is the map of 53 such tiger reserves in India, right? So 53 tiger reserves are mentioned over here. You can go through it in your free time. Apart from this, like, it talks about big cat count. I mean, recently a tiger census was conducted in India. Tiger census is an exercise to let's say count the population of tigers in India, and tiger census has given us data that now India has the largest population of tiger as compared to any other country. So we have more than 70% of the tiger in the world in India. Okay, 70% of world's tiger is in India, right? You can go through it in your free time. Then we have another topic. This topic is also very important. It says 5% of birds in India are endemic, says Zoological Survey of India publication. So this Zoological Survey of India, they have recently conducted a study, and in that study they have, let's say, like, they have understood that 5% of birds in India are endemic. All the birds that are found, 5% of them are, let's say, Indian birds, like they are endemic. Okay, and they have recently released one particular publication which is known as 75 endemic birds. Okay, 75 endemic birds of India. 75 endemic birds of okay, 75 endemic birds of India. So this is the publication that was released by the Zoological Survey of India, and they have recently celebrated 108th Foundation Day. Okay, 108th Foundation Day of Zoological Survey of India. I am writing ZSI in short, okay, so that like you can understand ZSI. Okay, so this is the thing. Along with this, in this article, they have mentioned name of, let's say, like those endemic species in India. They have mentioned that out of 78 species, right, out of 78 species, 3 species have not been seen in the past few decades, and they have mentioned about those 3 species also. It is like one of these species, Manipur bush quail. Okay, this is one of the species which is listed as endangered in the International Union for Conservation of Nature, right? So IUCN has a red list of threatened species, right? So in that, this Manipur bush quail is mentioned as endangered. So this has not been seen in the past few decades. And also, like, they talk about another species which is Himalayan quail. And so it is listed as critically endangered in the IUCN list. Apart from this, there is another one which is known as Jahidul cursor. It is also listed as critically endangered in the IUCN red list. So you can download this PDF and let's say, like, write these names in your notebook so that you can remember their name and also their IUCN status, because in UPSC prelims exam many a times they directly ask about some species and they ask about what is the IUCN status of this species. So you should remember about it so that, like, you can give a correct answer in the paper, right? So with this, like, we will move to the next topic quickly. And also we have a question. This question says, with reference to the 75 endemic birds of India publication, consider the following statements. They have given two statements. One statement, it says it was published by Zoological Survey of India. This is right. Second, it says Himalayan quail is listed as vulnerable. Okay, this statement is wrong because Himalayan quail is listed as critically endangered, I think, right? So that's why the second statement is incorrect. So correct answer would be option B, because they are asking about which one of these statement is incorrect, right? So answer would be option B. You can go through the explanation in your free time, right? So the explanation is mentioned here, answer is B. And there, let's say, name is mentioned in this explanation itself. And apart from this, like, we have a very short topic now. This topic says the 18th century Tamil manuscript, right? 18th century Tamil manuscripts found in monastery in Italy, right? 18th century Tamil manuscript found in monastery. So recently, let's say, one of the research scholar has visited like Italy, that research scholar has visited, let's say, an Armenian monastery in northern Italy, and he has identified one manuscript which is known as Gyana Muyarachi. Okay, it is known as Gyana Muyarachi. G-N-A-N-A, right? M-U-Y-A-R-A-C-H-I. Gyana Muyarachi. This is the name of the Tamil manuscript that he has identified. Okay, so this is mentioned over here, and, like, the identification related things are mentioned. So you need to just remember that this name, this is related to Tamil manuscript. Okay, you just need to remember the name. Okay, so that will help you to, let's say, solve some questions in the prelims exam. And we have a question related to this. This is a question for the prelims. It says, which of the following is correct with reference to the term Gyana, right? Gyana Muyarachi, okay, Gyana Muyarachi, which was seen in the news. So it says, this is a Tamil manuscript found in a monastery in Italy. Option A is right, because, like, we just studied about it in the previous article. So option A is right related to this question. Then we have, like, one more topic. It says FATF trying to revise recommendation to safeguard NPOs. So FATF stands for Financial Action Task Force. So this is an international intergovernmental organization, and this organization works towards, let's say, like, safeguarding different countries and its members from money laundering activities. So this also takes an account. It let's say, like, keeps a track on the money laundering activities that are happening in different jurisdictions. And so they have recently taken some steps to for safeguarding the non-profit organizations from being abused for terrorist financing. Okay, so they have taken some initiatives related to this, and they are going to relook into some of the document or notification that they have issued earlier. So this Financial Action Task Force has been recently in news because, like, they have categorized Pakistan in the grey list, and also they have categorized Iran into the blacklist. So we are going to discuss about it, and also we have included a question related to this, right? We have included a question related to this. So we are going to solve this question quickly. This question is for the prelims exam. It says, with reference to the Financial Action Task Force, consider the following statements. First, it says FATF is the global money laundering watchdog. This is right. Then jurisdiction under increased monitoring refers to grey list countries. This is also right. And then Iran is under blacklist of FATF. This is also right. So all the three statements are right. So correct answer would be option C. Along with this, we have given a question for the mains exam which says, what is FATF? What is Financial Action Task Force? Discuss the objectives and challenges associated with FATF. You need to answer this question in 150 words, and then you can share this answer with us at evaluation@lukmaanias.com. That email address have been shared with you in earlier discussions also. So with this, like, we will move to the next topic, or like explanation to that question is given. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending the Hindu newspaper analysis. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.